Hi everyone, welcome to another of our short walkthrough question series where we'll tackle the topic of comms. We'll go through six quick questions that have been seen across all EASA authorities in the past 30 days during actual and real exams. So let's get straight to it. So the first question, an urgency message shall be preceded by the signal pan pan. It shall also contain as many of the following items as required according to ICAO Annex 6. What is the ideal order for reporting these items? So both for the urgency and distress messages, so pan pan and mayday, the format is quite standardized and there's a great mnemonic that I've always used to remember what to say and when. So of course, always you start with saying the name of the station that you are addressing and then the name of your aircraft or the registration of your. However, later, there's a great mnemonic that I urge you to use. It is RIP, just like rest in peace. It goes for reason, intention, and position. So, R, reason, I, intention, P, position. So, what's happening, what you want to do, and where you are. So, knowing this, the ideal order for reporting these items, of course, first of all, we always say, for example, um, Heathrow Tower, Sierra X-ray Alpha Bravo Charlie for our registration. Engine failure, intention to land on the nearest runway, requesting vectors, currently altitude 2000 feet and 2 DME north of the station. Um, so knowing this, we always address the station first, then the aircraft identification, so 3 and 1, and then reason, so nature of the urgency, so reason, then intention, and lastly position. So 3, 1, 4, 2, and 5. Awesome. Question number 2. What is the call sign used to communicate in an uncontrolled station that does not have AFIS? So the information service. So if there is no information service and we're flying in an uncontrolled station or uncontrolled airport, we will use the call sign radio. So for example, an airport that I used to fly from a lot only had a radio, so there was a radio controller which never gives clearances. He's only there to give you information and to help with the traffic flow. However, he is not responsible for any separation or the safety of any aircraft. In that case, you will use the call sign radio. However, there are many call signs that you will actually have to remember, including all of these. And I urge you to learn the tables such as this one right here, which I'm sure you'll be able to find both in the question bank, but also in your books for communications. You see, there are all these call signs such as control, approach, arrival, departure, tower, and all of these can be asked during the exams. One that I find really interesting is Homer. This is one that you would use if you would have to use the service of the VDF, so VHF Direction Finding Station. And in that case, you would use the Homer call sign, which is my personal favorite. However, you'll need to learn all of these, so I urge you to take a look. Question number 3. Which frequency band is used for radio communications and for the ILS? So the ILS is using a VHF, and of course, the standard radio comms are also on the very high frequency range. Sometimes the aircraft are using high frequency, but these are only reserved for oceanic routes and for very long distance comms. So this will always be specified in the question. Now remember that for the ILS, the VHF comms is only for the localizer. The glide slope is using UHF, so the ultra high frequency range. However, it is paired automatically with the localizer VHF frequency, so the pilot only tunes in the VHF frequency. Also, the VHF frequency is shared by the VORs, and in order to distinguish them, the odd frequencies, so the odd decimals, are reserved for the ILS, and the even are reserved for the VOR. So, for example, if the VOR is 108.8, the ILS would be 108.7. And then so VHF and VHF. Awesome. And going on to question number 4. It is 21:20 local time or 9 p.m. in a time zone with UTC +2. How would HC correctly give you the time? So in aviation, we always use the UTC time or the Zulu time, which allows us to avoid any confusion. This actually has caused many incidents in the past, and not many people know that actually Amelia Earhart had a lot of problems during her final flight because of the confusion regarding the times that she and the station she was approaching used. So always in aviation, use the Zulu, the UTC time, and this will always be given by the appropriate station. So if it is 21:20 here at the moment, and we are in UTC +2, that means the UTC will be 2 hours less, meaning 19:20. And also, here as a bonus, I'll just say that the station will always give you, and you're also required to give just the minutes, which is absolutely fine. So if you're flying, for example, right now at 19:20, and you know that you'll approach over a significant point at 19:44, all you can say is that at 4:4 you will be over a certain point. And this is absolutely okay, unless there is a possibility of confusion. In that case, you would use the full hour, which is 19:44, or if it's the next hour, then 20:15, for example. So now going into question number 5. What does the abbreviation PAPI mean? So these are Precision Approach Path Indicator Lights, and these help us to stay on the appropriate glide slope that it has been designed at the particular airport. And in order for these lights to work, we have to look at them and keep 2 white and 2 red lights at all times. If there are 3 white lights, then that means we're slightly too high. If there are 4 white lights, that means we are very too high and unstable, and we need to go around. And the same goes for too low, where this is indicated by the red lights. So 3 lights is slightly lower, and 4 lights is very low. There are also VASI lights, which are visual approach slope indicators, and these are only 2 lights. So they would be either too red or too white when you're too high or too low, or 1 red and 1 white when you are on the appropriate glide slope. And these are almost often going to be around 3 degrees for the glide slope. However, they can be non-standard, and this will be always written in the AIP or on the appropriate approach plates. So Precision Approach Path Indicator. And for the last question, which phrase shall be used if you want to say, I understand your message and will comply with it? So of course, this should be quite straightforward. This is Wilco. This is a very popularly used phrase by the pilots. The ATC is not always very happy to hear it. They would like to hear the full reply. However, it's absolutely okay. And it's one from the standard telecommunications document that you can read in ICAO. And of course, Wilco means that you have understood and will comply. And Roger means that you have understood the message only. And Wilco is never to be used if the message requires certain readback items, such as reporting altitudes, for example, or setting the squawk or the QNH. In these cases, you're not supposed to use Wilco. Always go with the appropriate readback items and read them back in full. And this will be it for today. Thank you very much for tuning in. I wish you all the best in your exams. I hope that the learning goes smoothly, and I hope to see you in our next video. So have a great day. Bye-bye.